Stress and irregular lifestyles are the cause of various health problems today. Thrombosis is an important example, which can be the cause of heart attacks and strokes. Blood clots called thrombi increase to an abnormal extent in the blood vessels of patients with this disease. There is a health food that relieves this condition.
特に血栓症に非常に有効な食品であるというふうに考えております。
This health food, named NKCP, prevents thrombosis, which is related to many diseases. Keeps blood healthy. Thrombus-preventing enzyme, NKCP. An ocean of soybeans. The soybean was born in China about 2,300 years ago and is appreciated by people all over the world. There is a traditional Japanese food produced by fermenting soybeans. This food is called natto. As a health food, natto has attracted attention in many countries. Contained in the gooey threads of natto is bacillopeptase F, which is the source of natto's beneficial effects. This ingredient has been shown to have many benefits for the human body. This ingredient, when obtained by extraction from natto, is the active component of NKCP. How does NKCP work in the body? In recent years, there has been a change in the pattern of diseases affecting the population, and thereby a change in the causes of death. The death rate for vascular disorders due to arteriosclerosis, or hardening of the arteries, is rapidly approaching that for cancer, which is currently the leading cause of death. This phenomenon is not unique to Japan. In the US, 26.2% of deaths are from vascular disorders, and the trend is similar to that in Japan. In the UK, 32.8% of deaths are from vascular disorders. The UK shows a similar graph. NKCP prevents such vascular disorders which are increasing worldwide. Assistant Professor Hitosugi of Dokkyo University School of Medicine talks about NKCP.
NKCP は抗凝固作用と申しまして、血液の固まるのを抑える作用があります。これは現在発売されているいくつかの薬品にもそのような作用を持っているものがあるんですけれども、やはり血液が固まらなくするのに非常に有効な作用を持っております。血栓症はあらゆる場所に起こることがあるんですが、特に致命的、命に関わるものが肺動脈血栓塞栓症という病気です。これは全身の静脈系にできた血栓が肺の血管に詰まってしまう病気ですけれども、このような命取りになる病気を予防する上でも非常に有効だと考えております。
Blood disorders cannot be studied inside the body. How does a thrombus form in the body? A typical case is presented here. As seen in the video, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets are contained in blood flowing in a human blood vessel. When this vessel becomes inflamed for some reason, platelets, red blood cells, and cholesterol come together to cure the inflammation. This is a thrombus. The thrombus forms almost immediately. Economy class syndrome has been in the news recently. This syndrome is also a type of thrombosis. Another name, travel thrombosis syndrome, suggests that all of us are vulnerable to this disorder. When one sits in a cramped seat for a long time, the flow of venous blood around the back of the knee is disrupted, and a thrombus forms. The thrombus first causes leg swelling and pain, and in some cases it flows to the lungs and causes breathing difficulty. Obesity is said to be linked to easy thrombus formation. Thrombus formation does not necessarily cause serious disorders. After a while, when the inflammation in the blood vessel has been cured, the thrombus falls off the vessel wall like a scab. The dislodged thrombus is carried along the blood vessel. Such events occur in everyone's body. If this mechanism were absent, inflammation of the blood vessel would not heal. However, when an abnormal thrombus flows into a narrow vessel, it may obstruct the vessel. Vessels beyond the obstruction site will then die because of lack of blood flow. A stroke occurs when a thrombus obstructs a cerebral capillary. This can lead to death. Thrombosis is a disorder where thrombi form easily because of poor dietary habits, among other reasons. NKCP has a preventative effect against thrombosis. A study on the preventative effect of NKCP against thrombi was carried out at Tokyo University School of Medicine. First, 2 test tubes are prepared. Physiological saline is put into one test tube, and NKCP into the other tube. Blood is sampled from a healthy person. An equal volume of blood is put into each of the test tubes. The 2 test tubes are then warmed to 37 degrees Celsius, about human body temperature. 5 minutes later, is there any difference between the test tubes? What has happened to the tube containing physiological saline?
血液が固まって落ちないですね。
What is the state of the blood in the test tube containing NKCP?
固まってないですね。
The experiment using the test tubes demonstrated that NKCP can prevent clot formation in blood. How does NKCP work in the body? NKCP works on the balance between the thrombus dissolving activity and the thrombus forming activity of the blood. The thrombus dissolving activity involves plasminogen entering at the top of the diagram and TPA, the circle that has appeared at the bottom. TPA acts on plasminogen to cause it to produce the enzyme plasmin. Plasmin dissolves thrombi. This is the thrombus dissolving activity. However, as TPA tries to act on plasminogen, another substance tries to inhibit this action. This substance is called Pi1. Pi1 intervenes between TPA and plasminogen to prevent the production of plasmin. As a result, the thrombus dissolving enzyme plasmin decreases and thrombi gradually form. This is the thrombus forming activity. Neither too much formation of thrombi nor too much thrombus dissolving activity is good for health. Healthy blood has a balance between the thrombus dissolving and thrombus forming activities. However, poor dietary habits lead to disruption of the balance, resulting in an increase in only the thrombus forming activity. Elderly people are more susceptible than young people because the blood vessels are narrowed and easily obstructed in the elderly. NKCP reduces the activity of Pi1 involved in the thrombus forming activity. This encourages production of the thrombus dissolving enzyme plasmin. As a result, the increased amount of plasmin dissolves thrombi more effectively. NKCP, derived from a natural product, not only enhances the thrombus dissolving activity, but also helps to restore the original balance in the blood. In addition to reducing the activity of Pi1, NKCP has a further effect. Professor Yamamoto of Kobe Gakuen University talks about this effect.
動物実験の結果からはですね、きれいにあらかじめ作った血栓を溶かしますので、 NKCP が例えば腸管においてあるいは血液の中に入ってどっかの細胞を刺激してそして何か有効な物質が出てで我々の体の中に備わっております血栓溶解能というのがありますからそれを刺激して我々の持っている力で血栓溶解するという可能性もあると思います。
NKCP is shown to have various other effects. This is a graph showing the time taken for whole blood to pass through a standard comb-like channel. The graph shows the time taken for blood from a person who has ingested NKCP for a fixed period of time. An experiment was designed to learn how blood flow changes due to agglutination or clumping of platelets that is responsible for thrombus formation. This blood is from a middle-aged man who pursues a typical lifestyle. As you can see, his blood has begun to get viscous and does not flow easily. The conditions of the experiment are similar to blood flowing in the man's blood vessels. This condition increases the risk of thrombosis. After this man took NKCP for a fixed period, the same experiment was repeated. Let's see what happens. Blood flows smoothly after ingesting NKCP, and you can see there is almost no obstruction. This effect is due to NKCP. The blood flow changed to this, compared with this before ingestion. NKCP also increases the ability of blood to dissolve thrombi. Euglobulin lysis time measures the bioactivity of blood in respect to dissolving thrombi. The shorter this time is, the higher the activity is. This graph shows that ingestion of NKCP shortens the euglobulin lysis time.
NKCP は抗凝固作用と申しまして血液の固まるのを抑える作用があります。これは現在発売されているいくつかの薬品にもそのような作用を持っているものがあるんですけれども、それだけではなくてですね、専用といいまして、血液を溶かす、すなわち血栓を少し溶かして流れを良くするというような作用があることも証明されております。これは人の血液を使った実験で私どもが証明しております。
Dr. Ichihashi talks about NKCP, which he uses in actual clinical practice.
臨床に携わるね、医者としてはですね、血液の流れが良くなるということは、例えば冷え性を取ったりですね、それから頭の血流が良くなるとすると、ふらつきが治ったり、それから糖尿病のですね、目の視力の低下ですね、そういうものが良くなったりですね、実際それは全て確か体験していることですけれども、それとか関節の動きが滑らかになったり肩こりが取れたりということでですね、でいくつか実体験いくつもありますけれども、いろいろこの3年間体験しまして、これは全身のですね血液の流れを良くするんだということが分かってきまして、今ではですね主にですね動脈硬化に起因する各体の症状に対して予防的に使ったり治療的に使ったりしています。
NKCP is proving to have a clinical effect on health.
NKCP はご存知の通り納豆から取れた物質です。納豆は自然界にあるものですから、外からですね人工的にいろんなものを加えて作ったものではございません。ですから非常に安全だと考えております。
In addition, NKCP is free from the vitamin K contained in natto, and thus can be combined with warfarin or aspirin. NKCP keeps the blood in a healthy condition